ESC question reflection.
Welcome YouTubers to our first video at ENC question reflection. We are going to be talking about the importance of respecting others' perception and perspective. So it's going to be a really good topic. We're going to be going over a lot of different things about perception as well as perspective. So all right, y'all, let's do this. So we're gonna start off with this. Perception in itself is something rather huge. A lot of people put perspective and perception really close together, and even though they're super intertwined and they're really close together, they actually do have a difference. And perception is your attitude or your beliefs towards something. So you may very well, let's say you have an attitude or a belief about toys for kids. Maybe you think that toys really aren't the greatest thing for kids. Maybe you think that teaching is a lot better done a different way, and toys are really distracting. So your perception on that is that kids just should not have any toys. So whenever you see a toy store, your perspective of that toy store is instantly going to go to your perception of it as, oh, that's just an evil place, or, oh my gosh, I just wish that they would just get rid of that. And another example, it could be, I know there's a lot of controversy in regards to feminism nowadays, and your perception on that is maybe men are controlling. Men are, they're dominant and they're super controlling, and they just want to take over what women are doing. So your perspective on when you meet a man, you may instantly want to just be like on the defense, because your perception of men is already that bad that you're just ready to just jump and just be like, oh, and just be on the defense with it. And so we really have to change negative perceptions on certain things, because it can really affect our perspective. So the perspective is your point of view. And I'm also a photographer, so perspective can also be used in that sense as well, because perspective is literally your point of view, or where you're standing on a specific matter. So you may see something one way, and then someone standing at a different angle or in a different location is like, no, I see it this way. You'll see colors change in the photography world when you're standing in a certain location or on a certain perspective. So perspective can definitely be changed in that, like where you are. With that really being said, the only really good way to change perspective is to change your location, or to change your mindset of where you're standing at, how you're looking at a situation. To change perspective, however, you really have to start with how you change your perception. You can try to change perspective, but really all you're going to do is just change the angle. And it's always going to go back to your perception on things. It's always going to go back to, well, yeah, I might see it this way if I stand over here. It might be a little different, but I still can't stand it. Such as if we use the toys example that I gave, you might say, well, yeah, maybe certain toys, maybe learning toys will be okay, but my perception on toys is, I still think they're evil. You haven't changed your attitude on anything. You're always going to go back to a nitty-gritty kind of, well, those toys are evil, period. So in order to change your perspective on anything, you really do have to change the bigger picture, or your belief in what it is, or the attitude that you have towards it. So the biggest picture to be painted in regards to perception and perspective is to respect others. Because a lot of times we get into conversations with people and we're just like, that's not how it goes. That's not how it is. But we have to understand that where other people stand from, or where they're looking at, may be very different, and it could be different by the way they live their life. It may be different by the way they were raised. A child is a product of their environment. So you may have a child that grows up to believe a certain way, and then they run into another adult that's like, well, that's weird. But it's really about their perception and how they were raised that can change their perception on life, and then they look at things in a perspectively different kind of way. So with that being said, we definitely want to make sure that we understand where someone's coming from. The reason that I picked this topic as our first topic for ENC question and reflection is because we're going to be covering a lot of different random questions, and perception is going to play a huge part. So when you're listening to our videos, your perception on it is you're going to be like, well, my perception is this way. But you have to look at our perspective on how we're dealing with different things, maybe in our household, or maybe the way we were raised, or our environment in itself. So that was really the biggest reasoning for starting this topic, or starting our channel with this specific topic. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a couple of pictures of images, and I'm only going to use 3. There's millions of them out there, I'm sure. But it really gives a really good idea of what it means to change perspective on things. So I have a picture here, and you see this lady is, you can either view this person as a young woman, or you can see that she's an old woman. And sometimes you can see both. I personally can see both. I can see the young woman and the older woman, and for some reason I have this ability to be able to see them at the same time. But a lot of people, they may see the young woman and they can't see the old woman, and then you can see the old woman, and sometimes you just can't see the young woman. So this is a really good example of how you view things, or how you're seeing it at that time. So here's another one, and this is 2 people, and on one side the person says that there is 4 logs, and on the other side they're like, nope, there's 3. Here's another image. This one says there's 6. This one says the number is a 9. This really goes back to location and where you're standing at. If you notice, the guy's like, there's 4 here, and then this other guy's like, no, it's 3. So the importance to this specific picture is this here. Just because one guy says that there's 4, it did not make him wrong. In his eyes, he's right. And if we actually look at it from his perspective, he's right. There's 4. But if we turn and we look from the other guy's perspective, or more or less standing in his shoes, there's 3. So, and it didn't make him wrong. In his eyes, he's right. This is so important when we're speaking to people, because we can argue all day long about who's right and who's wrong, whose perspective was on point, and who's kind of got a little flaw over here. We could sit and argue about that all day long, especially when someone's perception of something is so deep or deep-seated in their life. We could argue all day long. So it's important to respect the other person's perspective, because where they're standing, you're not standing. If you're standing in front of someone, as you're sitting or standing in front of me, you're seeing things from one way. I'm seeing things from a different perspective, or a different angle, or a different viewpoint. So it's important to kind of listen to what people are saying to us, so that we can kind of grasp and understand. Not only are we going to agree with someone, we're not always going to do that. Sometimes we're listening to someone and we're like, yeah, well, it still doesn't make sense to me. But we still want to try to understand. And when you try to understand someone else's perspective, even if you feel or you think or you know that they are dead wrong, you just really want to say, you know what? I see it from one way, you see it from another. And sometimes it is like that. And we just want to make sure that we're respecting and understanding, or attempting to understand someone else's perspective. So going back to this picture, you have this other picture with the 6 and the 9. And if you notice here, they're doing the exact same thing. They're doing the exact same thing. This is a 6 and this is a 9. And we all know that, and I know a lot of us have been confused over the years where the 6 and the 9, you can flip them upside down. And I think eventually they started putting a line under it so you could tell the difference that, this is a 6, this is a 9, especially with shoe sizes. I don't know how many times I think I've bought a size 9 when I meant to buy a size 6 just because perception. It's all about which way you turn it. A lot of times I go on Facebook and I'll see these little questions, and there'll be these really weird questions like, this person did this many times, and there's this many animals in this many rooms. How many legs are it? Or, something like that. And I'm always like, well, it's perception. It's perspective. It's really how you look at it, because do you consider this a leg? I mean, people might not call the legs of a chair legs. They may call them stalks. You don't know what they call them. And so the real answer to those questions is really perception. I don't even get involved in it. They just say, you know what? She's not going to answer like that. She's just going to say it's perspective, because I understand that maybe someone may very well be correct in their mind, in their perspective, and then someone else may also be correct or in their perspective. And so you'll have people that be like, nope, you're wrong. And then they're like, well, wait a minute. I don't see it like that. So we really have to respect how someone else is viewing something. We really have to not be so quick to say, you're dead wrong, or no, that's wrong for this, or no, that's wrong for that. I know we're going to be doing a child rearing video soon, and I know that is definitely a perception question, because some people view child rearing one way, some people view it in a different way. But with that video, we're going to be stating a lot of facts and a lot of perspectives and perceptions that come along with child rearing. And when we do that video, I would expect people to really understand or try to respect perception from not just us, not just ENC question reflection, not us, but other people that may be commenting or being in that specific video. So that's going to be it for today. So look, if you have any thoughts about this video at all, any different ideas about perspective or perception, please leave them in the comments. And if you like this video, give us a like, share this video, and do not forget to subscribe. Also, don't forget to hit that notification bell so that you don't miss any of our material. So you have a great rest of your day, and thanks again for joining.